Sean not built for prison.
No. Really heavy.
Yeah, he's not built.
So Whack 100 called it out. And you know what? Sean Kingston knew it too. He just didn't want to admit it. But now, after getting hit with a brutal sentence, Sean and his mom legit collapsed in court. And what his mom said right after? Oh my God. That left the whole courtroom shook. Let me break it down for you because this whole story is a complete mess. Y'all, it wasn't just any sentence. This was devastating. Sean Kingston and his mom, Janice Turner, just got their whole worlds flipped upside down. No jokes here. They got caught up in a fraud scandal so messy, even the jurors didn't hesitate. It only took them 3.5 hours to come back with a full-on guilty verdict. Like, boom. Guilty on conspiracy to commit wire fraud and 4 counts of wire fraud. All of it. The vibe in that courtroom, straight up soul-crushing. The moment that verdict hit, you could feel it in the air. Dead. Silence. Sean and his mom were crying, not tearing up, like full-blown wiping tears with tissues. And get this, Sean was overheard literally begging the agents to protect his mom. He was desperate. Like, this was not just legal drama anymore. This was real life. It got that deep. After the verdict, things moved quick. The court didn't waste time. Janice Turner was immediately thrown into federal custody. Meanwhile, Sean got put on house arrest, but not without strings attached. Homeboy had to slap on an ankle monitor and throw down a bond that was no joke. A house worth $500,000 and $200,000 in straight-up cash. That's what you call cooked. Now, usually the time between a verdict and a sentence is pretty quiet, right? Not in this case. For Sean and his mama, those few months were chaotic. We're talking full-on drama, money problems, legal maneuvers, and then finally, just raw, painful reality. They weren't just going down, they were unraveling emotionally and financially. And let me tell you, things started getting real when Sean had a money crisis so bad, he got thrown back into federal lockup. Yes, again. In April 2025, he couldn't cough up a $100,000 bond. Imagine that. This man used to live in mansions and drive around in Bentleys, and now he couldn't come up with what, for him, used to be lunch money. It was bad. He couldn't post bond, and a judge basically said, "You're going back in, pending sentencing," like straight into the hands of U.S. Marshals. That moment right there, that was the turning point. That's when we saw how far he'd fallen. Then came the day everyone was dreading, July 23rd, 2025. That was when Janice Turner, Sean's mom, faced the judge. And y'all, this courtroom moment, it was absolutely heartbreaking.
He faces 20 years in prison. That's the maximum for federal wire fraud cases.
If she gets 20 years, that's gonna be it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a life.
She walked in shackled up wearing a red prison jumpsuit. This wasn't the glamorous mom of a music star anymore. This was a 62-year-old woman facing the consequences of her actions. And the weight of her choices was all over her face. The courtroom was tense. Her lawyers tried. They really did. They begged for a lighter sentence. 30 months. They talked about her health, her age, how she didn't have a long criminal record. But prosecutors came in and were like, hold up, don't forget 2006. Yep, Turner had already been convicted of bank fraud nearly 20 years ago. This wasn't her first run-in. This was a pattern. So when Judge Leowitz hit her with 60 months, that's 5 years in federal prison, it felt like the air got sucked out of the room. Add 3 years of probation after that. For someone with health issues, that might as well be forever. And you could see it, she was crushed. Then came the moment that just tore people apart. Turner, through tears, gave this emotional plea. "I'm sorry. My intention was to keep my son afloat in this difficult industry. They used him and abused him. I am begging for mercy for me and my son." And y'all, it was raw. It was real. But Judge Leowitz didn't budge. He wasn't buying it. As the marshals led her away, she looked at her daughter and blew a kiss. Her daughter mouthed, "I love you." That moment, gut-wrenching. This wasn't just a legal case anymore. This was a family shattered. And if you think that was the end of the drama, nope. Sean's sentencing was supposed to go down on July 11th, but guess what? He didn't even have a lawyer, so it got pushed to August 28th. Now let's pause right there. A celebrity, no lawyer? That alone tells you how deep in it he was. He wasn't just broke, he was drowning. And prosecutors? They're going hard. They're asking for 6.5 years. If the judge gives him that, that's basically a wrap on his music career. He's 35 now. Add nearly 7 years to that, and he's coming out in his 40s. The prime years, gone. But how did it get this bad? How did it all come crashing down? Oh, let me spill the real tea. The investigation and trial that pulled back the curtain on everything. So how did all this dirt finally spill into the open? It wasn't some undercover sting or FBI tailing them like in the movies. Nope. It all started with what looked like a plain old business beef in early 2024. But that little drama, it kicked open the door to one of the wildest celebrity fraud cases we've seen in a minute. In February 2024, Verver Entertainment LLC filed a lawsuit against Kingston. Why? They said he ordered a 232-inch TV and sound system for his house, racked up a bill of $111,000, and just straight up dipped without paying. But here's where it gets scandalous. Kingston allegedly told them he had a partnership with Justin Bieber and promised some promo videos, like, "Yo, I got you. Bieber and I are tight. We'll shoot something for your brand." Except, surprise, Bieber had zero involvement. Total cap. That lie, that was the domino. Because once the feds caught wind, they looked deeper and realized this wasn't a one-time scam. This was a pattern, a whole operation. Between April 2023 and March 2024, Kingston had been out here hitting up sellers on social media, offering to buy high-end goods, watches, TVs, cars. Then he'd invite them over to his lavish mansion in Broward County. And because he's Sean Kingston, people fell for it. They thought, yo, this is legit. He'd name-drop celebs, promise exposure, and even offer social media promo. It was a whole show. But when it came time to pay, that's when things got dirty. Instead of real money, Sean or his mama would send fake wire receipts, sophisticated fakes too, not some Photoshop mess. These looked real. They were meant to fool even seasoned business owners, and y'all, it worked. The stuff they got this way, insane. A bulletproof Cadillac Escalade, luxury watches, that monster TV. The total value of what they finessed, over $1 million. Let that sink in. That's not petty theft, that's high-level larceny, and they were pulling it off like pros. And then, boom, May 23rd, 2024, it all came crashing down. The feds weren't playing. They pulled up with a whole SWAT team to raid Kingston's mansion in Florida. Yes, a full SWAT deployment. For a celebrity. That's how serious it was. And get this, Sean wasn't even in Florida at the time. He was in California, performing at an army base in the Mojave Desert, performing for the troops while his house was getting raided. Meanwhile, his mom was being arrested across the country. The contrast? Chilling.
He was like screaming for his mom, like, no, don't take my mom or something. But it's like, well, you doing this with her. I mean,
yeah. You gotta think of that before you...
What they found in that mansion? Whew, it was way worse than they thought. These two had stolen $86,000 worth of goods, a $159,000 car from a dealership, and nearly $500,000 in jewelry. The indictment was wild. In July 2024, a grand jury in Miami dropped the hammer. Conspiracy to commit wire fraud and 5 counts of wire fraud. Each count carried up to 20 years. Do the math. That's potentially life. Of course, both of them pled not guilty. But the evidence? Unshakable. Fake wire receipts, testimony from victims, bank records. The whole playbook was laid out in court, and it painted one ugly picture. When the trial began in March 2025, prosecutors came in locked and loaded, and the stories that came out? Unreal. One jeweler from Fort Lauderdale, Moshe, said Kingston promised him the world in exchange for a $285,000 Audemars Piguet watch. Kingston was even sending him voice notes like, "You're my guy, you're gonna be at every red carpet with me." Lies. Another seller, Andre Bush, said he gave Kingston a Cadillac Escalade. Guess what he got in return? A fake wire receipt. Classic Kingston move. And when the dealership tried to repossess the car, Kingston's team argued they paid $70,000. But those bank receipts? Fake. Then Janice, Sean's mom, gets up and testifies in her own defense. And what does she say? That she sent fake wire transfers. Like, just straight up admits it. Said it was to protect her son and buy time until they could pay. Her excuse? The luxury lifestyle was needed to maintain Sean's image. Girl? Really? That testimony didn't help. It crushed them. Prosecutors didn't see a mother trying to save her son. They saw a mastermind, a fixer, a full-blown operator in this criminal scheme. And the judge agreed. Kingston thought about taking the stand himself, but he backed out last minute. And honestly, that move might have sealed his fate. Because when a defendant stays quiet like that, juries don't usually take it well. It screams guilt. And it's not like Kingston didn't have a rap sheet. He had a whole history of drama and violence trailing behind him. And you best believe the court didn't ignore it. Now let's rewind, because this fall from grace, it didn't come out of nowhere. Sean Kingston's public image might have been all beautiful girls and good vibes, but behind the scenes, sis, he was deep in it. This wire fraud case was just the final straw. Let's talk receipts. Way back in 2006, before Kingston even blew up, his mom, Janice Turner, had already pleaded guilty to bank fraud. She did nearly 18 months in federal prison for scamming over $160,000. Yeah, while her son was about to become a star, she was literally locked up. And people thought this family was just about music? Think again.
Know this. When Sean Kingston got signed, he was like maybe 17, 18 years old at the time. His mom was in prison for identity theft. So he grew up in this scammer kind of life.
That early exposure to the criminal hustle, it left a mark. And you can see the pattern forming because from that point forward, trouble just followed Kingston everywhere. Flash to 2010. Boom. Sean gets hit with one of the most disturbing allegations of his career. A 19-year-old woman, Carissa Capolato, accuses him, his bodyguard, and a bandmate of assaulting her in a Seattle hotel room. She claims she was wasted, weed, vodka, the whole deal, and that she couldn't even consent.
I was in my room for 10 minutes.
That's all it took you?
10? No.
Oh,
never
so you
take
in the
me.
room
I'm
for-
Jamaican, man. I got stamina.
Okay.
I'm rude boy. I want to tell.
Calm down.
What's wrong with your boss, man?
Yes.
10 minutes, man. I want to tell, man. Not 10 minutes, brother, but listen. She was in
The story? Chilling. She said Kingston security literally picked her up and dropped her on top of him, and then all three men allegedly took turns. It was her friend who walked in and called the police. Carissa was taken to a hospital, and her injuries reportedly matched her story. The criminal charges? They got dropped. Why? Authorities said her story wasn't solid enough, too many contradictions, but that didn't mean the end.
honest with you, man, like, you know, when they did all the tests, they did all the they did everything, it was like, it was no criminal suit. Police came up, all this, like 6, 7 people, they did tests, all that type. They put the swab, they did all that, everything came back, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She did her criminal report, she had 6 different stories.
Wow.
Wow.
She had 6 different stories. The police was like, bro.
By 2013, Capolato came back and filed a civil lawsuit asking for at least $5 million in damages. She talked about severe trauma, mood swings, panic attacks, the works. Kingston? He didn't fight it. He settled. His team insisted it wasn't an admission of guilt, just a move to avoid dragging it out before a tour. But the fallout? It stuck. Kingston got shows canceled. Western University cut him. Petitions followed him everywhere, even as far as 2023 when Denver University dropped him from their lineup. That allegation never stopped haunting him. And still, Kingston kept on finessing. In 2015, a custom watch seller sued him and his mom for $356,000. Why? They ordered luxury watches, never paid. Same old script. In 2018, another jeweler in New York, Aquamaster, won a $31,500 judgment over unpaid necklaces, gold chains, and watches. Dude even wrote bad checks. And to add insult to injury, he flexed that unpaid jewelry on Instagram like, sir, really? This wasn't bad business, this was routine. Get the product, fake the payment, diploma. And he was bold about it over and over. In 2020, Kingston got hit with charges for trafficking stolen property. You guessed it, unpaid jewelry again. A warrant was issued in December 2020 for grand theft. He ended up getting 2 years probation, which started in October 2023. Here's where things get spicy. When Kingston and his mom kicked off their wire fraud scheme in April 2023, he was already on probation for that stolen jewelry case. So yeah, he committed all those new crimes while already being watched by the feds. That's what you call bold, or just plain reckless. From all this, a picture becomes crystal clear. Sean Kingston wasn't some unlucky star who made one bad choice. Nah, he was a calculated repeat offender who used fame as a shield, a celebrity con man. This wasn't just about finessing. This was about lying, threatening, scamming, and hurting people, all while flaunting it like nothing would ever catch up to him. But now, it has.